Luke Cage, episode 12, Soliloquy of Chaos. I really love the title for this episode. I think it's my favorite title, and it's just a really good title. I like how it kind of feels. But this was a great episode leading up into the season finale. It had my second favorite musical piece with Method Man. One of my favorite scenes the whole season when they first had Method Man during the robbery. That was just funny to me. My favorite musical piece is still episode 5, the song "Hail to the Chief." I just thought that was a great song, and now I'm listening to that artist. I'm like, I really like that artist now. So that's still my number one, but the one they had with Method Man in this episode was really great, and showing all the people wearing the bullet hole hoodies and everything. I was like, that's actually really cool, and they're standing together for the people that do believe in Luke Cage and all the stuff that Method Man was saying during the song, and some of the stuff that he was saying. I was like, this is really awesome. They had Sway on there and stuff, so that was really cool. I really enjoyed the musical portion for this episode. Of course, lots of crazy action scenes going on in this one. Then we get, at the end of the episode, we get the full-on comic version of Diamondback, which I saw a picture of that, and this was, I think it was yesterday, I saw a picture of that, and I thought it was something from a different episode, from an earlier episode, and I was like, oh, I think this is a picture that they used to kind of like fake people out for the season, and I was like, oh, that's what I was saying. I thought it was from an episode I already saw, and I was like, oh, this is fake, they did this to, mess with people. But he comes in at the end with the full, I assume that that's the comic book version of his costume. It has to be. It might not be as bright, but I'm like, that has to be the comic book version of the costume. Just a little, slight moderation on it, but it should be interesting. He seems bulletproof. He doesn't ricochet the bullets. It seems to just flat out absorb the impact. So that should be interesting to see. We got Domingo getting killed off in this episode. He went for, you set out a plan. You do it. You think you got it, and you go for the main villain, and you let him monologue. Because as soon as he's like, what makes a when a rattlesnake is at its most dangerous. And I'm like, he's going to say when it's cornered, and then of course that's going to start everything off. And he let him say it, and he pulls out the 2 guns and everything. And of course, he goes in with that suit. Like initially, I was like, oh man, he really got around. I just assumed he still had the gloves on. And then even with what Domingo said, I just figured like, oh, it was still the gloves. Like he hadn't seen that. He didn't know what to really expect. But that was a really crazy scene. It was like, alright, he ends up getting through, killing all these people. He has the bomb and stuff, and Luke ends up saving Domingo at the end. But just going through, like, the way they were kind of jumping around with all this stuff happening, with Diamondback trying to kill Shades, I was really happy he didn't actually die during that scene, because I thought he was going to. Because of the way that it lasted, I was like, oh, this is actually lasting. He's gonna die. And I was like, even if he did, like, flip zip or whatever, and like he knocked him down, there are 2 other dudes right there. But the way they did it, I thought was great, where he's behind the dude and he takes his gun and he shoots him and shoots the guy behind him. And then I think Zip just like freaked out, and I think that's how he got free. But I was like, that was a great scene, because I thought he was going to die for sure. I was like, oh crap, they actually are going to kill him off and then kind of get rid of all the villains by the end of the season. But I love the way that scene played out. He actually ends up killing Zip off, and he takes his shades. Turk actually makes a comeback in this episode, which I thought was pretty cool. I was very surprised to see him in this episode. But he comes in, and then Fish is like, you know what, we'll bait him, and that way you can get your information and try to find out where Diamondback is. He gets locked up inside the dumpster. Mariah doing her plans through this whole episode. She's following, I believe the girl's name is Candace, so she has like her assistant dude follow her. They fortunately aren't able to find her by the end of the episode, so she doesn't end up actually getting killed. But they were tracking her down, and I assume she'll be fine unless some crazy stuff happens in the finale. But that was pretty nuts. I was like, oh man, she might actually end up getting killed off. Misty is kind of getting all this extra information that she really needs. They have her do, I assume that this episode is the last one where we get to see her kind of do her vision sort of thing, which once again makes me feel like it had to be some superpower stuff, because she's seeing everything, but it's just her envisioning it because she's a great detective. But I love the way they played it, where Mariah was dealing with Diamondback, and she says like, well, I was never too fond of Shades, and he was the other guy was her rival, so he's like, I was really appreciated. and I'm gonna, reopen Harlem's Paradise and use it as kind of a power play for the city. And then Diamondback just comes out like, sweet. Like, no, she really, like, Shades was right. He was like, you need some better security because people just break in her house all the freaking time. So they end up teaming up, and we find out that Shades, I don't know how he got this info, but Shades has basically a big file to help Luke Cage, or really Carl Lucas, be free. Like, he has all this information in this little packet. And it's like, if you help us, you help get rid of Diamondback and you leave us alone, you have your freedom, as Carl Lucas. And then, as Mariah says, we'll just say Diamondback was the one that killed Cottonmouth. Plain and simple, you're free as both Carl Lucas as well as Luke Cage, and you leave us staff alone, so, we're fine. So I really liked how all of that was playing out, and we actually get the moment before they go into the barbershop where Mariah asks, like, what were you even doing at the club that night? And he flat out says, like, I was actually going there to kill Cottonmouth, and you just happened to beat me to it. So I thought that was very interesting. He was kind of tired of all the stupid mistakes, and I feel like because they haven't had that dialogue anywhere between Shades and Diamondback, that was kind of his own plan, where he's like, all right, he's effing up, I gotta, kind of make an executive decision, like Tone, early on, and just get rid of Cottonmouth. But it just happened to work out for him, where someone else did it, so he's just an accessory. He didn't actually do it himself. But, everything comes together. It all comes to a head. They're trying to, talk with Luke, and it's like, you let us go, we do this parlay, and we all work together to get rid of Diamondback. And then here comes Misty just walking from behind, and he's like, I thought you were going for Turk. And she's like, no, I just followed you. I just tracked you since we met up. So then it gets super crazy because she, of course, wants to arrest Mariah, and then Shades just wants to, like, blow her away, and of course Misty wants to blow Shades away. And then Diamondback comes in and just blows up the front of the barbershop again with a grenade. So I'm excited for this final episode. It should be a really interesting action sequence where Luke is really going to have to, officially defeat his brother. And who knows what's going to happen. I mean, Misty still has the recording from Candace, so she could still kind of, go against her. But I don't know exactly how it'll play out. I'm not 100% sure who's going to escape. I feel like Diamondback will be killed, Mariah will be caught, and like I've been saying since the beginning, I'm pretty sure Shades is going to somehow escape. He might actually get arrested, but I still don't feel like he'll, get killed off or anything, and that's how they'll bring him back for season 2. But definitely love this episode. Like I said, the grocery store scene, or the liquor store scene where they're getting robbed, that was hilarious. That scene was just so funny to me. And the dude, he looks at Method Man, I'm like, okay, because I was wondering how they were going to do the music stuff, if they would have, featured artists, or if they would just play, a featured song during that specific, musical segment. But it was cool the way they did it, where he's just, in the store or whatever, and it's, it gets robbed. And the dude lifts his mask up and everything. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. And he's like, really? This is when you want to pick a conversation up? And it was so funny. Like, just everything they did was funny. And then his buddy was like, put your damn mask down. And he says his name. And he's like, what did I tell you about using my government name? I'm Michael. And it was just, it was like an actual comedy show type thing. Like, that's what you see in, like, comedy TV shows when people are getting robbed. They, like, say each other's names. And that was just so funny. And then, once again, as I've said every single time, when Luke slaps somebody, that's the funniest thing in the world to me. Because that dude was like, man, you look like you went through a cheese grater. And then he's like, oh, snap, you're Luke Cage. And he just went, boom, and just slaps him in the face. And then he, like, karate chopped the second dude. It was just like, and he just fell to the ground. I was like, that's just so stupid. And I love, like, they won't do that in big fights, but that's just the funniest thing, when he just slaps people and they get knocked out. I love that. I wish they had, like, I think he's only done it maybe like 3 or 4 times, but I wish I could just see that on repeat, where he just slaps people and it's just like, boom, and they just pass out, because that's so freaking funny to me. But I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, definitely my second favorite musical moment. I just love the way they did it. I think it's because I like the song of the other moment more, and that's why that's still my favorite. But this one I really did like the message a little bit more. So it's kind of neck and neck on those two. But I don't know, I might have to watch them both again and see, because it's like, well, that one was really more of a focus on the song. The first one with Long Live the Chief. But in this episode, I felt it had a even greater message because it had even more imagery, kind of combined with it, like better imagery, I'd say. Because the first one was like, half the imagery was, Luke Cage just lifting rubble, and the other half was when Claire first showed up. So it didn't have a ton of imagery that really went with like, the Long Live the Chief song, where it was like, kind of like Cottonmouth and stuff, and like obviously he was there, and then the way the song ends was very sort of Godfather, like where he walks in with his people and they close the door. But for the most part, most of the imagery was just, oh, here's Claire in the show, and she has a hilarious and awesome scene, and here's Luke lifting up some rubble. And I think this had a much better imagery to go with this song, so it's kind of like that hard balance where it's like, I like that song more, but I felt the imagery actually matched more with the song, because the whole message was about Luke Cage actually being, a true hero in Harlem. So really great musical moment in this, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do for the finale, how it's all going to play out. Maybe they'll do a little time skip or something, and we'll see Harlem's Paradise opened up again or something like that. But really excited for this finale. Of course, definitely let me know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and of course, going into the final episode for this season, I would love to know your expectations and speculations, all that stuff, for what's going down in the final episode. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, I assume with our 3 villains, Diamondback will be killed, Mariah will be arrested, and Shades will either be arrested or he'll find some crazy way to just be scot-free and he'll escape. And he'll probably keep Luke's file. That's kind of how I feel like that'll go. That'll be his reason for escaping. And then Luke will still have to stay as Luke Cage, and he'll still have to hide the fact that he has his past, because he still won't have the evidence to kind of save himself, even if he has Diamondback, which, like I said, I feel like he'll probably end up having to kill him, really, especially with the whole suit and everything. But I'm excited to get into this final episode right after I finish this. Like I said, I want to know what expectations or theories or anything you guys have for the finale. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.